Hi, welcome back. This is Robinson, a good friend of mine, and one who I've known a very long time.
Since about 1965, as a matter of fact.
You don't have to go into dates. You can love that part out. But not that we knew one another well, but we've known one another and then reconnected after many years.
Yeah.
And it's been a pleasure to get to know him better and to learn more about his life, which has been quite the journey. So, Rod, tell me about it. I know when you were born, but let's go a little bit.
Well, my dad was in the Air Force, and until 1965, when we moved to Kokomo, Indiana, which is where you and I met in junior high. From there, I went to Cedarville University, and
Cedarville.
that was early 70s. Met my wife, and we got married in 76, and I went into radio and TV. And I just retired 6 years ago from radio and TV. That's the quick
I love
version.
it. That's the quick version.
I'm a very long story.
Okay, so there's a few spots in between that we want to highlight.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so let's talk about the band. There was a band.
Oh, there was that band. Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, I didn't go directly from Cedarville to broadcasting. I was a broadcast major at Cedarville. My junior year, I joined a band of, let's see, it was two girls, a guy, and musicians, instrumentalists. And we called ourselves Sela. Now, that was before the present-day Sela, who have been just huge. This was the Sela back in the 70s. We ended up traveling and touring and recording. We did 3 albums, and then we broke up in 79. And from there, I went back and finished my degree, and then I went into radio and TV.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was a great time. Wrote a lot of our own songs.
There you go.
And just had a blast going all over the country. And I've never regretted leaving college for that.
Okay.
I left my junior year. I was terrified to tell my parents because they were paying my way.
Yes.
And I had gone from my freshman year completely blowing my grades. My dad sat me down and had a come to dad meeting and said, "You're not going back." So I got serious, and by the time I left, I was getting straight A's. So leaving to join a band with no foreseeable way of making any kind of a living, back in those days especially, I thought my parents were just going to kill me. They ended up being our biggest fans. They would travel sometimes hundreds of miles to see us in concert.
How fun is that?
Yeah,
I didn't realize that. That's
huge
awesome.
fans. They helped support us financially a little bit, and but it was a blast. That was back in the days when they had what was called coffee houses, which they were all over the country, and they were little gathering
starting
places.
those again.
Aren't they really?
I think they
did
are.
not know that.
Not the same concept, but instead of bars, because a lot of people aren't drinking alcohol now, so they're going coffee houses.
Yeah. Well, these were Christian coffee houses, gatherings for kids to get together. Not always coffee, believe it or not.
Yes.
But always some sort of music, and we used to do that whole circuit all over the mostly eastern half of the United States.
What was your favorite memory from the tour?
Some of the big festivals were really fun. This was coming on the heels of Woodstock.
Right.
And then the Christian community decided to take that same concept.
Yes.
They would bring in thousands and thousands of kids from all over the country who would attend these, and those were really, really fun.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a blast.
love it.
Other good memories were being in the recording studio, recording some music, and hearing enhanced everything.
Yes.
And I remember sitting on a couch in Gaither Studio in Indiana and hearing that wonderful studio sound for the first time, and I went, "Is that us?" And it wasn't enhanced back in those days. Everything was analog,
they didn't know
so
how
there was
to do
no
that.
digital.
Yeah, that's right.
But it just sounded so good on those speakers.
That's awesome.
And it was a blast. We got, we had a passion for telling, especially young people, about Jesus, and it was during the Jesus movement, which was just a huge wave of a revival that went all over the country, and so it was fun being a part of that.
Yes. Yes. So what were some of the favorite songs that you helped to write?
Only one that somebody might have heard of.
Okay.
Okay, so we wrote a bunch of songs. Steve Milliken was my co-writer, fabulous musician. To this day, he still writes and produces.
Nice.
All these years later, we wrote a little song. I came up with some lyrics to a song called "Fat Baby," which was sort of a parody, playing off of the verse in Hebrews where it talks about. You are satisfied only with the milk of the word, but not the meat of the word. So I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting picture. And so I wrote these lyrics about a little baby that, would just refuse to grow up. And Steve wrote the music to it. The group, we played it for probably 2 or 3 years. When the group broke up, a friend of ours from Cedarville recorded it on her album.
Okay.
In the studio happened to be a guy by the name of Gary McSpadden. Gary McSpadden, for people who know
Yes.
about gospel music, was
Yes.
huge back in the day.
Johnny Rambo, all those people. Yes. Yeah.
And he was with the Gaither Trio.
Yes.
And he happened to hear it. He was in the studio when our friend was recording it. And he called me and said, what would you think about me representing that or publishing it? And I said, well, there's a one person I think you ought to pitch it to. This up-and-comer, Amy Grant.
I love it.
And he goes, okay, I will. So this next part of the story, Gary told me this and Amy told me this backstage when I went backstage. My wife and I to talk to her after a concert. So they were planning this album called Age to Age, which ended up going platinum, winning a Grammy, a Dove Award. It was just a huge album for its time. I think it sold like 2 million copies or something, which was unheard of in the Christian community. And they were praying that God would send them kind of a novelty song, maybe an Andrew Sister style song.
Yes.
That's what they really wanted for this album. Gary McSpadden comes knocking at the door and says, I've got this song I want you to hear. He played it for them and they went, that's the one. And it ended up on this massive album, and I was very fortunate to have our little ditty on such a big album.
I love it. That's such a great story. And you've spoken with her since and met her backstage. You
Yeah, a couple of
allude to
times.
that.
Yeah.
That's very fun.
Very, very gracious young lady.
That's awesome. I love that story. So, okay, so then you went back to school. Then you graduated.
Yeah.
You got married.
Well, got married. Actually, I was with the band when I got married.
When you got married,
And,
okay.
and my wife was in nursing school, but during break, she would sometimes travel with us.
Got it. And then you started developing a family. You kind of did that well.
I like to think so because they're turning out pretty good.
They are. I've had the
Yeah.
privilege of meeting most of them, I think, now.
I think you did. I think you met all 5 of them. So our oldest is 41, and she has 4 boys, she and her husband. Then we have a 37-year-old who has 3 kids now, and a 26-year-old son. And after 3 kids, we thought, well, that'll,
That was good.
that's probably
Yeah.
probably enough. When my wife and I were first talking about kids, I said, I'm thinking 2. And she goes, no, I'm thinking 3. And I said, I'll compromise. Let's make it 2 kids and a dog. We ended up with a dog and 5 kids.
Yes.
So,
The story
but Jordan
of
is
the
our
last
26-year-old.
2. Yes.
He and his wife have a new baby. And then we were in our 50s, early 50s. And we had an opportunity to do fostering. And we really felt like we needed to do that because there's so many kids in the foster system that have no place to go.
True.
So we did, and we thought, oh, maybe we'll adopt one. Maybe we're awful late in life, but somebody's got to do it. Why not us?
Right.
So we ended up getting 2 girls on an emergency placement, and they never left.
I love it. And
So
they're beautiful women.
We fostered them for
Yes.
several months, and then we had the opportunity to adopt if we wanted to. So we took our 3 kids to Olive Garden in Tucson, and we said, here's what we're thinking about doing, but we want to bounce it off y'all first. Is there any unselfish reason why we should not adopt these girls? And the word unselfish was important
Key.
because there's lots of reasons why not
Right.
to, but unselfish reason. somebody, these kids need a family.
Yes.
These girls need a family. And all of our kids said, yeah, I think we should do it.
I love
And
it.
so we did.
It's so
And they are now 22 and 23 years old.
it's so fun. They're just great gals. I really enjoy
Yeah.
spending some time with them. Okay, so then you were in Ohio
Uh-huh.
for a little bit and
About,
doing
a bunch of years.
And what did you do there? Develop some.
In Ohio, I was in radio and TV, TV for the most part. I helped start a couple of different Christian stations there. Worked shortly for, let's see, 1, 2, 3 different radio stations.
Okay.
Had a little Saturday night program. I think it was 5, 6 hours. Called the Saturday Night Gospel Singing. I'd take requests, and it was a blast. It was so fun, so fun. I think it went from 7 to midnight, 6 or 7 to midnight. That was a lot of fun. And then that station decided to start a Christian TV station, and they drafted me to come over and help with the station. So I was there for 8 years.
Wow.
Then was drafted by Family Life Radio Network, which is headquartered in Tucson.
Right.
We picked up everything. We only had 2 kids at that time, 4 or 5 and maybe 18 months, and took everything clear across the country. It sounded crazy. And we're not the type that, we hear from God every time, oh, God wants us to do this, God wants us to do that. It's just not, that's not us.
And I would say you're not a huge risk taker either.
I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. No. I like to play it safe, and so does my wife.
That's okay.
And
Nothing wrong with
so, but I said, well, we'll come out here and kick the tires on this radio network and see what happens. We got out to Tucson, and it was like we both said, this is where we're supposed to be.
I love it.
We are supposed to be here. We are supposed to move the family out here. That was crazy for us because my wife's family, extended family, she had 6 brothers. And of course, nephews and nieces all over the place. They lived, most of them lived within 30 miles. So we had extended family everywhere. And that was just nuts for us to pick up and move clear across the country.
Away from
no family,
everybody.
no family. So that was difficult for my wife, Jeannie, but I give her huge credit for saying, I agree, this is what God wants us to do. And so that's what we did. And I had a career there for 30 years.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. What's one of your favorite memories from that part of your journey?
Well, if you know anything about the mid-'80s in Christian television, it was a very tumultuous time.
Yes.
Lots of scandals.
Yes.
Not at the station I was at, which like a local independent station, but we carried a lot of the syndicated programs that were out there at the time, and there was some just hideous scandals, and I was burned out. I was like, oh, I'm not comfortable with this anymore. So I remember walking into Family Life Radio, conservative at that time, very conservative radio network, had several stations around the country, and I remember walking in and going, no scandals here. There's no scandals.
I love it.
And it was just like a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
So that was a good move, and it must have been because it lasted 30 years.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's very unusual in this day and age, particularly, right? To do a 30-year stint somewhere.
Yeah, it is.
That's for sure. Okay. Then you retired. And you have a very prickly retirement plan.
Let me explain that.
Yeah.
So about 15 years before I retired, maybe it was 13 years, well, we ended up with a piece of land, 10 acres and a brick house, and which brick houses are very unusual in the Tucson area. So
Stucco.
it was an older house. Yes. Yeah, most of them are stucco. But we decided we had been closer to town for quite a number of years, and then we just we got to get out and stretch our wings. So we came across, which was just a miracle story I won't go into, but this property just practically fell in our laps. And so we moved out there. Just it was another one of those things like, no, we are supposed to
Yes.
have this piece of land with this house. And we got out there, and a few years later, a friend of ours who had been in the nursery business said, "You've got what you need to grow saguaros." Now, saguaros are for those of you who are not from the Arizona area, are those iconic cacti that have the arms that come out, and they take 70 years before the first arms come out, and some of them are 200 and 300 years old.
Yes.
They last that long, but people love them in their yards when they're much smaller than
Yes.
that. And he
grow
said, "You
very
got
slowly.
everything you need. You got a windmill, which we did, which is one reason we fell in love with this piece of land. You've got the Arizona sun, and I can show you how to prepare your soil and how to grow them." Okay. So we planted about 1,800 of them in a 5,000 square foot lot that we developed. And it took years for them to grow now to 2, 3, 4 feet. In fact, what is today? Just yesterday, as a matter of fact. Now I think about it, it's been a long weekend. Yesterday, we just harvested 22 of them.
Okay.
And we're going to be selling those along with 28 other ones to a garden store in town. So now we're selling them to landscapers and garden stores. And yeah, it's a bit of a prickly business.
Yes.
Because you want to be careful around those.
Yes, definitely. But I loved seeing all of them in the field. It just, I don't know, it was very special. It's like
Especially if it snows.
Oh.
We've had snow. We don't get snow very often
Right.
at all.
Oh,
We're only
that's
60 miles from the Mexican
Right.
border, so you don't get it very often. But there was one year, 2 or 3 years ago, when it snowed 3 times in about a 6-week period.
Wow.
One of them happened to be a day when both of my sons are in landscaping now, when one of our sons was coming out to help me harvest cactus. And it snowed the night before, 6 inches.
Wow. That's a lot.
I've got pictures of,
Yes.
oh, it is just stunning. You got the mountains in the background covered with snow. You've got the wild cactus, the wild
Right.
saguaros all over the hillsides, and then our little patch with 6 inches of snow on top of these little saguaros. It was
Love
beautiful.
it.
It was a wonderful, wonderful morning.
Yes. Oh, so pristine, too.
Yeah, it was.
That's awesome. Well, Rod, you are what is called a metallusionist.
Yes, a little word I came up with myself.
Yes. And I love that. An author,
Uh-huh.
speaker,
Yeah.
and we already talked about broadcast executive.
Yeah.
So you didn't really retire. You just switched where you go to work. Is that correct?
Yeah, I kind of have to admit that.
Yes.
But the one thing I loved about retiring from the 9 to 5 job was the flexibility
Yes.
and being able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And so when I didn't want to sit around. A little bit of sitting around, but I didn't want to sit around all day and get bored. And so leading up to retirement, one thing we did was the cactus, knowing that we would, we wanted to have some alternate income. The other thing was I started, and this wasn't really for retirement necessarily, but it was something I really enjoyed doing because I got into magic, just like pocket tricks and kids magic and that type of thing many years ago, 30 some years ago. But as I got into my probably 60s, I really started gravitating toward a branch of performance magic called mentalism, which is like mind reading. It's not, I put it this way, it's not real mind reading.
Okay.
Because personally, I don't think that's possible, but it is so convincing that on stage, it looks like the real thing.
Yes.
I mean, it looks.
I would
you've
agree.
You've been
Yes,
there. Yeah,
would
I mean,
agree.
it looks like the real thing.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out. I knew kind of what to expect, and so I was
Yeah.
trying to figure it out all the way.
So
I didn't.
it's I call myself the mental illusionist, or my show is called Mental Illusions, and I take the two words mentalism and illusions, and I put them together because it's mentalism, but it's really an illusion. And that's about as far as I explain it, because some people go, well, yeah, you say it's not real, but that had to be real.
Right.
And I like to leave the mystery intact, if you know what I mean.
Yes. And I believe your Uncle Bob got you started on this
He
path?
did, yeah.
Yes.
I was probably 3 or 4 years old. My Uncle Bob was an amateur magician, like real simple little pocket tricks, and he did a little coin trick for me. And I remember looking at that going, that's cool. But I didn't even start doing much in the way of magic until I was in my 30s at that point. But he planted the seed.
Think that you saw something that you were trying to figure out overnight.
Yeah, well,
I did my background.
you must have read the book. So, I was at Dollywood Amusement Park with our family. I was 35, I believe. And we were on the train, and there was a little magic shop there, and I saw a guy out there floating a cane in the air. And I went, boy, that's interesting. We get off the train. I go over there. I didn't buy that one, but I bought another trick, a coin trick, that first time he just showed it to me. And we were camping, so I didn't buy it at that time, but I went back, and that night I laid awake trying to figure out how he did that, because it was an amazing coin trick. And I could not figure it out. We went back the next day, thankfully, and I went right to that magic shop, and I said, that coin trick you did, I gotta know how to do that.
Yes.
And when he showed me how it was done, my mind was blown, because I went, okay, that looked, to me, the spectator yesterday, looked like a miracle. And now I know the secret. And I'm like, I had no clue that's how you did it.
So all the thinking that you stayed awake trying to process
no
and
idea.
how it wasn't
none
even
of my
close.
ideas were right.
Yeah, I think that may be true with any magic trick that I've seen, because I do like to try to figure it out, and it's like, I'm sure I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Not doing it justice. Okay, so then you wrote a couple books.
Uh-huh.
Talk about those a little bit.
First one I wrote, which I believe you had over there,
I do.
is Unmasking the Masquerade, 3 Illusionists Investigate Deception, Fear, and the Supernatural. So I wrote this with 2 other illusionists.
So what prompted this?
It started out me writing some articles about various things, especially how easy it is for us to be deceived. Because I wanted to approach that from a Christian vantage point, biblical vantage point, and explore that question of how does deception work. So in the book, I did about the first half of it is written by me, and then the other 2 guys wrote the other half. And I talk a lot about the history of charlatans and even things like there's one chapter. What about the magicians in the Bible? There's like 3 or 4 magicians in the Bible, and it's interesting when you start doing the study on them. A lot of people assume that these guys had real powers, but when you really start studying, and I don't know Hebrew, I don't know Greek, but I've done enough study to know that when you dig down, you realize, oh no, they didn't. They were charlatans, which is why God was condemning them, because they were cheating people. He wasn't condemning them because you got real powers, because they didn't. But God hates when somebody takes advantage of somebody else, deceit, and people who, look what Jesus did with the people in the temple. They were cheating, and he was not happy with that.
Tables, whatever.
Throwing tables over, which I've never done, but he did.
Right.
So,
you may not have thrown them over, but you've caused them to float.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. I have done that. So Toby Travis was the other illusionist. He traveled the world for years with an illusion show. He's also a theologian. He digs into should we be afraid of Satan's powers? And he comes up with some fascinating stuff, which I won't spoil at this point. But he challenged me on some of this stuff. And when I read his, I went, no, he's got an ironclad case for the way he comes down on does Satan have real powers, or are we getting our theology about Satan more from Hollywood than we are from the Bible? And then Adrian Van Vactor, dear friend of mine, we've been friends for many, many years, done tons of shows together. He writes the last part, and it's about his own testimony of he again toured the world with a big illusion show, and as a young Christian, maybe even pre-Christian, he asked himself the question, as a trained illusionist, was Jesus a magician, a myth, or the Messiah.
Yes.
And he spent months studying that. And the last part of the book is pretty much his his testimony of his journey through that, answering that question for himself.
Which I loved. Yes. It's very insightful.
And that's the first book. That
Yes.
was like 8 years ago.
Yes. I'll trade you.
All right.
Speak to that one.
Magic of Cultivating Positive Emotions. 4 powerful secrets mentalists use to influence thoughts and how you can use them to improve your emotional health. It's a very different book than the first one.
Yes.
This one came about because I started doing a seminar / show at a health and wellness resort, probably the premier, the #1 health and wellness resort in the entire country. And in Tucson. They have other branches, but the big one's in Tucson. I started doing a show there because I'd done entertainment shows for them in the past, but I kind of got tired of that. And a few years later, I went, they like seminars. They do all kinds of seminars there, health and wellness seminars for the most part. And I thought, what if I were to combine a show, a mentalist show, with a seminar that teaches good takeaway, high-value strategies for improving our emotional health. Put those two together so it'll be more memorable for them. So I pitched it to the resort. They said, absolutely, we'd love you to do it. I've been doing it now for 4 years, and I do it a couple times a month. So at one point, a woman in the audience wrote on a note, handed it to me, said, you should write a book. And I went, yeah, that's not a bad idea. So the book is really an expansion of the show and seminar that I do at this resort, but it goes a lot deeper, and it talks about things like neuroplasticity, which is our thoughts literally change the wiring of our brains for good or for bad. Some fascinating stuff as I did research for this. And I tell a lot of good stories, a lot of fun stories, some humorous stories.
That's one of the things I like about this book the most is the way that you incorporate these stories into it, and how you're such a great storyteller.
Thank you.
Well, in the format of the book too, it's helpful the way that at the end of, I think it's the end of each chapter, isn't it? Where
Yes, ask questions.
Yes, you have questions to probe a little bit further and deeper into what you've discussed.
Which is what I do in the seminar and show. I'll go through. There's four major strategies, and at the end of each one, I'll say, "Now here's the takeaway. What are you going to do?" And then I expand on that. Here's some things you need to think about. So it sort of encourages. I don't want to say forces, but it sort of encourages people to say, "Okay, well, I'm not just going to read the chapter. I'm going to actually take a moment now to think through this, and even maybe write down some things that I really ought to be doing with the material that I just read."
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. And I've been to the seminar before. I really enjoyed it. And I found the process of how you go through the different things and you make it very entertaining and fun. But then I think that helps to open up their minds in order to take the next step in responding and engaging in what they have been learning and how you've been teaching it. And you incorporate in there, not sleight of hand, but sleight of mind.
Sleight of mind.
I had to write that down to remember it.
Mind.
Yes.
I like to say I did sleight of hand for a number of years, but one day I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if I could teach my mind to do what my hands do, or sleight of mind?
Yes. I love that. Yeah. So speak more about that. What's the difference between sleight of hand and sleight of mind?
Okay. Both of them use the similar broad strategies. Actually, the four. Well, I'll tell you what they are. They're misdirection. That's the one most people are familiar with magicians. I use more verbal misdirection than I do physical, but I do some physical misdirection. The other one is assumptions.
Yes. You got me on that one.
Yeah, the audience makes assumptions, and I'm doing stuff, and every magician is doing things where the audience is assuming one thing is happening, but it's something else. I take each of these points, and let's take assumptions, for instance. I'll say, after I do maybe a couple of tricks that illustrate it, and I talk a little bit about assumptions as it relates to a magic show, and I'll say, but what kind of assumptions might you be making where you are telling yourself, or maybe for a long time, you've been telling yourself not the truth about something somebody said to you. And you're assuming that what they said is true when in fact it's not.
Yes.
And maybe that's become so embedded in you that you can't even rise from that tsunami of hate or tsunami of hurt. And you can't even get your head above that long enough to take a breath of truth. And so that's the way I take it from here's what magicians do, here's what mentalists do. Now let's apply it to our own lives. And I do that for misdirection, assumptions, suggestion, or the power of words.
Yes.
And then one thing I call keyhole perspective, which is if you can think of one of those old doors with a keyhole, and you look through it, and you just reach down there and you peek through it, you're only seeing a tiny bit of the other side of that room. And you can live that way in a very subjective response to what's on the other side. Or you can take the key, which is that wonderful mind and the blessings God's given us, and you can use that key to open the door and see a whole world of possibilities and a world of positivity that's on that other side. So you can either look through the keyhole perspective, or you can open it up. Same thing that magicians do.
Yes.
David Copperfield's on stage, you're seeing a tiny fraction of what's really going on the other side, obviously, but we just don't know what that is, right, as spectators.
Right.
So I take each of these four concepts and I then broaden them out to, now how can you utilize each one of those in your own life to improve your emotional health?
And so can we, I believe it's in this one. Let me refresh my memory. Can we show this front?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Yes.
Let me go ahead and
Yes. You know which page I'm looking for.
I know which one it is. Okay. So this is something that I do, and I don't know if we can get a close-up on this, but it's worth it if we can.
It is.
So this is something I show the audience.
Probably
and I'll
that
use this
camera,
camera
I'm
over here in
guessing,
just a minute. I'm going to show you a phrase. It's actually in the book, but I also use it. I also use it in the seminar. And I say, I'm going to show you this phrase just for 2 or 3 seconds. It's a real simple phrase, but of course, I've been talking throughout this whole seminar, the first part of the seminar, about magic of the mind, and it's another word for sleight of mind. It's magic of the mind, right?
Right.
But I do a little fun thing with that, and I say, okay, I want to show you now a phrase, and just remember it. Well, that's what I've been talking about, magic of the mind, just like that. See, and then I do another little routine. And I say, I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to, by the way, that's a test of your short-term memory, so don't forget it. But in just a minute, I'll ask you what it is so that we'll see how your short-term memory is. And then I do another thing. And I come back and I go, oh, yeah, we got to do that quiz, right? Okay, everybody tell me, what was it? What did that say? And probably everybody watching right now, as does pretty much everybody in the audience, says magic of the mind. Yeah. I go, no, actually, it's not magic of the mind. It's actually, I shouldn't have turned away from it. It's actually magic of the mind. There are 2 thes in there. It was there the whole time, but most people don't see it.
Right.
Why did they not see it? Because of those 4 reasons. And then I explain each of those 4 reasons. Misdirection, assumption, suggestion, and keyhole perspective, how those things play into misreading this. Virtually everybody does not see the second the. As an example, the suggestion. So I said a few times before I showed this to you, I said, well, it's, mentalism, or, some people like to call it magic of the mind. I said that like 2 or 3 times, right? And then when I showed it to you, I said magic of the mind. So I'm making the suggestion that whole time, a verbal suggestion, that what you're about to see is magic of the mind, but it wasn't. And most people they'll get into that pattern of magic of the mind. That's what I'm trying to get you to subconsciously get into the pattern of magic of the mind, magic of the mind. And I show it to you, and it's magic of the mind. I'm showing it to you, saying it says magic of the mind, when in fact that's not what it says. It says magic of the mind. So I utilize that little visual illusion, actually a mental illusion, if you will, to illustrate how simple it is for us to be deceived And it plays into the whole thing about improving our emotional health.
And also what we say out loud. I was with some friends, and one said, I can't play games. I'm horrible at playing games. And just reminded me of the example. Every time we say something, positive, negative, but every time we say something, we hear ourselves say it.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes deeper.
Yeah.
So I talked to her after. I said, how about rephrasing that? Like, I'm getting so much better at learning how to play games or whatever, but just switch it around, because every time you say that, you're getting worse because you're hearing yourself say that. And I love that's kind of a mind, I don't know what you would define it as, but it's kind of a way to play with your own mind.
Yeah, and that comes back to that whole thing of neuroplasticity, which is our brains are
the folds and
plastic, if you will. The more we think about something, the more it becomes, oh, wait a minute, I think there's a Bible verse, something about that. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well, now science is going, yeah, it's called neuroplasticity.
Right.
As you think, literally, physically, it's changing the chemistry and the wiring of your brain.
Yes.
Which is really cool, because the good news is, well, the bad news is you can go the wrong direction.
Yes.
Or the good news is you can change the thinking and the wiring of your brain based largely, not completely, but largely on what you think about.
Yes. It's feeding your mind.
Yeah.
What you feed your mind with.
Good point.
And our minds need nourishment as well, and it may look differently than food and water. However, those are important for the mind too.
Yeah, sure.
But it's just learning how to feed your mind with positive, inspirational, motivational, and pushing the limits.
Yeah.
Because we are the only ones who put limits on ourselves.
Yeah.
Nobody else does.
Can I do
Yes,
one of the things
please.
that I do?
Oh, yes, I would love that.
So we talk about the
take
power of suggestion, and
Yes.
the power of words, and I spend a lot of time in my seminar talking about the power of words, and words are the symbols that we use every day.
Absolutely. Yes.
And we can use them to for good, or we can use them for evil. Ironically enough, I was in church this morning listening to a pastor at my daughter's church, Redemption Tempe, and he was talking this morning about the very verse that has a lot to do with this, and it's James chapter 1, where it talks about the power of words, the power of the tongue, if you will. It can be used to, like a rudder on a ship, it can be used to shift the ship through a storm, this tiny little rudder. Same thing with the tongue. It can be used to set a whole forest on fire, right? Just like a little spark, but it sets a forest on fire. So we have to be so careful with how we use our words. So I thought I'd do an experiment.
Perfect.
If I can do it with you, that'd be fun.
Yes.
I've got
I'm a little scared, I have to say.
three novels. Okay, well, let's give it a shot.
Okay.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay.
We'll find out. So each one of these novels, well-known novels, they have to do with words one way or another. Okay, so you got
Lots of words.
Da Vinci and hundreds, tens of thousands in each one of these.
Right.
So the Da Vinci Code
Yes.
by Dan Brown. Da Vinci Code is about symbolism, and of course, as I said, our words are symbols that we use. Stephen King, The Shining, creepy book, creepier movie, but in here, it's about a writer, and he has a writer's block, and he can't come up with the words, right? And then, of course, Harry Potter, it's has to do with magical words. It's a fantasy book, but it has to do with magic words. So just choose any one of those books.
Okay.
All right, Da Vinci Code
Yes.
by Dan Brown. Okay. There are tens of, well, let's see, 400, in this case, 437 pages. Tens of thousands of words.
Very fine print.
The average word, Liz, in a novel, I found it is like 7 to 8 letters.
Okay.
I want you to choose a word in here, not 7, 8 letters. That's average. Let's go
Okay.
above average, maybe 11, 12, 13 letters.
Okay.
Something that's going to be long and more challenging for
Yes.
me. So just open the book anywhere
Okay.
you want. Any page you want out
Okay.
of 400 and some
Yes.
pages. Choose a more challenging, longer word.
Okay.
And let me know when you've got one. I'm not going to look. Not as if I
Okay.
can see that well, but
I'm looking.
And
to
close the book when you've
see.
got one.
Okay, this one keeps coming up, so
Okay.
there it is.
All right.
Okay.
All right. There's no monitors in here, so I can't
Nope.
see. Okay. Go ahead and close the book.
Yep.
Put it back down. Okay. I'm not going to touch the
Mm-hmm.
book. Now, what I do when I'm in my seminar is I have everybody in the audience. I usually actually have three people choose three words,
Mm-hmm.
but we have one. So
We have to make up people.
I'll say, everybody think of any three letters from the alphabet, and they think of three letters. And then I say, okay, to each one of those three people, okay, what was the first letter of your word, first letter of your word, and then I say, how many people here got one of them? And maybe 3 or 4 hands will go up. I say, well, the odds of that happening are 1 in 8 because
Okay.
you got 26 letters in the alphabet.
Sure.
3 shots at it, it's
Sure.
about 1 in 8. But the odds of getting 2, did anybody get 2? Very seldom. I said, well, that's because the odds of that happening actually go down exponentially. It's about 1 in 180. So you wouldn't expect anybody to get that in a crowd of maybe, or a group of maybe 30, 40 people. Odds of getting all 3 never happened, and because it's one chance in about 2,400 that anybody would get all 3 of those. You see how it goes down exponentially. But what do you suppose the odds would be for me to get any one of those words? Well, I don't know. It's like one chance in thousands and thousands. I don't even know. But I'll see what I can do. So let me just, the first letter of your word, don't tell me the word, just like I would in the audience. What's the
Right.
first letter of your word is?
A.
A. So I want you to think of if the word you chose out of this book, out of tens of thousands of words, if it's a concrete word, I want you to think about it. I want you to feel as though like it's in front of you. You can feel it, touch
Okay.
it, smell it. If it's a concrete word. If it's a more abstract word, I want you to think about maybe an experience you've had with this.
Okay.
Recently or in your past, and we've been talking a lot here, Liz, about the powers of the mind.
Yes.
and neuroplasticity. And here's what I've found. As I get a little older, it's a little more challenging to get that thing to work like I always wanted to. Sometimes, in fact, sometimes I forget things, and I don't know. Has this ever happened to you? You go, I got to do that, and you walk out of the room, you go into the next room, and you go, what was that? What was I supposed? What was I? I can't remember. Like, you're absent-mindedly. Was that the word you chose from that
It
book?
was.
That was the word.
That was very good.
Thank you.
What was the tell? Was I shaking my head?
I'll
You'll
never
never tell. That's awesome. I'm impressed. Huh. I was afraid I'd forget what the word was.
That's great.
I had to really focus
I'm
on
going to
it. It's
have
like,
to remember
yeah.
that one. But I won't,
Yeah,
of course.
absentmindedly. I thought, well, surely I can remember that one. I love it. Oh, that's awesome. So, okay, guys. He's messing with my mind already. Okay, so the first book, let's go back to that. Can we do that a little bit?
Sure.
Let's talk about the title of the book. We talked about how it's dealing with deception, fear, and supernatural.
Yeah.
So were there any things that when you first started writing this book, that you were like aha moments for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you one. It was one of the first chapters I wrote because I wrote it as an article years before that book was published. I had a lot of interest in what's called spiritualist mediums, okay? And what are they really doing there? Now, to give you just a little bit of historical background, which I talk a lot about in here.
Yes, I was going to say define that.
Okay,
tell a little
spiritualist
bit.
medium.
Yes.
It started out, now there have been variations of it for millennia. But more recently, in the early 1800s and 1840s, there were a couple little sisters in a little town called Hydesville, New York. They were the Fox sisters, Katie and Margaret Fox. They decided to pull a little prank on their mom. and made some noises in their room. They lived in one, little house back in those days, a little clapboard house, and they made some noises. And long story short, people from all over the neighborhood wanted to come in and find out, what is this about? And these little girls started weaving this little deception about it. And they said, well, it's a departed guy who was killed in the basement a long time ago. And they would make these secret sounds on the floorboards. Right. Actually, one of them ended up confessing 40 years later to a huge crowd what she had actually done. But this thing caught fire, and it spread all over the country. It spread into England and other countries and became this huge movement called spiritualism, which was, in essence, the assumed ability to speak to the dead. Okay. So they started that whole, the more modern version of it. And it spread I'll tell you how far it spread. Mary Todd Lincoln.
Yes.
President Lincoln's wife was a spiritualist. She held seances in the White House.
Wow.
So President Lincoln, being the smart guy he was, brings in, I think it was the head of the Smithsonian Institute, a scientist, and he brought him in to view this. And this guy said, no, this happened to be, it wasn't the Fox sisters doing it, it was somebody else who because the mediums popped up all over the country who could pull off, this subterfuge and knew how to deceive people and, charlatans really. And one of them was in D.C. Mary Todd Lincoln would bring him in for seances. And so the scientist came in, studied it, and went, no, he's faking it. But they were good enough at the deception that they literally deceived millions of people.
Interesting.
It was a huge movement. To this day, there are still spiritualist mediums out there, some of them with TV programs. Some of them, I can think of one right here in Phoenix, that people come to supposedly talk to the other side, and they're very, very good at deceiving people. So I became interested in that whole thing. So about 25 years ago, I decided to do an on-site investigation of a place in Indiana, not far from Kokomo, actually, where you and I grew up. And it's a spiritualist medium camp, town sort of thing that still operates to this day. And it started back in the 1800s. It's called Chesterfield, Indiana. And mediums will live there in these little houses. They put the little signs out front. They have a big meeting house, a huge, great big meeting house, and a little chapel. So I thought, I'm going to travel over there, and I'm going to see what I can. I know I was a magician at this point, so I'm able to see some, some of the subterfuge. And I sat there and I watched these people being deceived by magic tricks.
Interesting.
And tricks that I knew how they were done. But the way they were presented, they were framed such that it looked as though they were actually getting messages from the other side. So one of those was, this was in the chapel. And it started out, you'd think you were just in a little country church. They're singing hymns that we grew up with. And,
Interesting.
And then the show started, right? And we each were supposed to write down a little note. I'd like to hear from so-and-so, departed loved one. And they put it in a little basket, and then the basket would go up there, and the medium up front would have a blindfold on. And then they would just take it out, not even open it, take up the folded piece of paper, put it to their forehead, and
is
say
this where
what
Johnny
it is.
Carson got started?
Johnny Carson was doing a parody of that very thing.
Yes.
Yeah, the great, what was it called? He called it, oh man, I can't remember it. But,
I can't either.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
with the
it
big
was so
turban.
good. Oh, yes, it was
that was
so
his
good.
parody
Yes.
of that very thing
Interesting.
that spiritualist mediums sometimes use. So I knew how it was done. So they're saying, everybody write a note down. So I went, I would like to hear from my departed friend Candy. And I folded it up, I put it in the basket. Well, as luck or providence would have it, they picked mine.
Okay.
And they picked several of them, but mine happened to be one of them. So he's up there and he goes, someone is wanting to hear from their someone in their childhood, a friend, by the name of Candy. Is that, who is that? And I said, that's me. And they said, Candy wanted to send you a message. She says that you are going to have a fabulous week here of spiritual growth here at the camp. And she's just so happy for you and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Well, I didn't reveal it at that time that Candy was the name of my dog when I was a kid. So Candy was not nearly as articulate on earth as she apparently was on the other side.
Right.
But, that, so it was very eye-opening. And I actually write a chapter about that place and my investigation of it. There were some weird things that I saw, but all of them deception.
Yes.